Smile, everyone. The preseason is over. I'm James Rapien here at Paycor Stadium, where the Bengals wrapped up the preseason with a 41-14 loss to the Bengals. But honestly, and I tweeted this game, well, it was pretty meaningless from a win-loss standpoint. The result didn't matter. What happened, the process, who played, who didn't, there's plenty of takeaways, plenty of thoughts, but the score was about as relevant as a pickup game down the street. It did not matter at all. But let's dive into a game where the Bengals never led. Again, that part doesn't matter. What does matter is the play and who played, who didn't. And let's start here. I think my overall takeaway was you saw Mitch Tinsley the other day and what he was able to do, the 2 touchdown catches in Washington. I asked Zach Taylor, hey, why didn't you play Mitch Tinsley? Because he didn't play. I was like, what? He said, I've seen all I needed to see. Mitch Tinsley, roster lock. Lock it up on all those roster projections, and we're going to do ours. Spoiler, Mitch Tinsley will be on the final 53-man roster for the Bengals. Now, some notable guys that were playing. Jermaine Burton played today. Tweaked his knee during the game on a punt return. Caught 1 pass on 4 targets for 16 yards before that. We'll see. Had a drop as well. We'll see what the injury is, how serious it is. Hopefully it's not serious. I did think he was still a roster lock. There's been a lot of speculation since Mitch Tinsley has played well. I still think he was a roster lock, but certainly noteworthy. Desmond Ridder, well, I don't think he was ever really making the roster, and they were keeping 3 quarterbacks. I think it was always 2, but he finished 8 of 20, had a pick 6, ran for a touchdown and 10 yards. Overall, it was a pretty rough day for Desmond Ridder in this Bengals offense. The other noteworthy players that played significant snaps, Matt Lee got the start today and played the entire first half. Seth McLaughlin played the entire second half at center. And so you got 2 guys probably battling for a spot. Matt Lee made his preseason debut. McLaughlin made his preseason debut last week. And so we'll see where that goes. I think Lee has the edge, but we'll see. I'm not sure. Other notes. Isaiah Williams played extended time. He was a training camp standout. I think he's on the outside looking in of the roster, had a couple of catches, led the team in receiving for most of the game until the end there, where I think he might have gotten passed up by Cole Burgess. But I digress because that was Peyton Thorne throwing him the ball, and the Bengals scored a garbage time touchdown to cut it from 41-7 to 41-14. Other notes, Jalen Rivers got the start at right guard. I think he's a roster lock. I think they like what they've seen from him at right guard. They wanted to get him more snaps, more experience. I think he is someone that they're going to really look to develop at that guard spot. He spent a lot of time on the left side in college. They've gotten him a lot of reps on the right side this training camp and preseason, so good to see there. Cody Ford locked in as your offensive tackle, swing tackle, your backup. He did not play today. Marius Mims did not play. Orlando Brown Jr. didn't play. All these starters that you're thinking of, they didn't play, and a lot of backups didn't. That's what was so interesting about Mitch Tinsley not playing today, because you could tell right away, like, who are they valuing, who are they not, who are they thinking about, who are they not, and that's why I think Cam Grandy's certainly someone on the roster bubble. You look at that tight end group, and I didn't see a lot of Tanner Hudson today. Did you? I did not. I obviously didn't see Noah Fant, Mike Gesicki, or Drew Sample. So to me, I look at that and I say, all right, well, Cam Grandy trying to battle, trying to make the roster. The other 4 are going to make this team. And that's really where it's at, and it's a good way. The final preseason game is a good way to judge things. You need some of these guys that are going to make the roster to play. It's simple. But most of the guys are battling for practice squad spots. Most of the guys are battling to potentially make the practice squad and show they're worth it. And I think the offensive line room is really, really interesting. The back of that room, you had Coker starting today on one side. You had multiple guys that you look at and you're like, all right, well, can they make a push for playing time? Caleb Etienne was really interesting at right tackle. I thought he played pretty well on first glance during the game. I was like, all right, well, I'm not noticing him in a bad way. That's a good sign for offensive linemen. I think Dejon Anthony, who got nicked up as well, tweaked his hamstring. He may be in a real roster battle now. It may be a thing. I think safety was something they were considering looking at anyway. The 3 locks, obviously Geno Stone, then you have Jordan Battle, you have Tyson Anderson. None of those guys played. So all 3 of those guys roster locks. But after that, you're like, all right, well, is it Dejon? Could P.J. Jules, who had 5 tackles today, a couple special teams tackles, could P.J. Jules make the push? He might be able to make the push. And so I think that part is interesting as well, how that plays out in the safety room. Do they go out of vet? Do they try to claim someone? Do they go that route? Same thing with the offensive line room. But overall, This game was about kind of figuring out the hierarchy, how they view things. Linebacker-wise, they have the big four, and then it's the Joe Giles Harrises of the world, the Shaka Haywards of the world, pushing for a roster spot. We'll see if they get it. Cut down day is Tuesday at 4 p.m. We're going to have Zach Taylor's instant reaction. We'll have an instant reaction to the roster as well. I'm going to have a roster projection. But overall today, do not look at the result. We have over 58,000 subs on YouTube, thousands of you listening on audio wherever you get your podcast. Do not look at the result and say, oh, man, the Bengals, this defense, I can't believe that this was not – most of these guys aren't going to be on the Bengals team. And so I think that is noteworthy. That is important to note. And some of them that will be playing with different guys, and it will be different, and it will feel different. And so you don't want to overreact to the result here. But I do think it's interesting. I wish that we would have seen a couple of Evan McPherson field goals today. Not for Evan, but for the long snapper battle. Will Wagner and Cal Adamitis, it's the least talked about battle ever. I wanted to talk about it coming into training camp, and there's just not much to talk about. I did ask Evan afterward, and he said both guys are awesome. He can't tell the difference between either one. And so this could come down to velocity on their snaps, how they are in coverage, going downfield, all of those things. So we'll see. But Cal Adamitis and William Wagner battling for that long snapper job. We'll know the answer to that. By the way, I mentioned Evan. Really good stuff from Evan in the locker room. Make sure you check out our video or our audio of Zach Taylor, Evan McPherson, and Des Ridder, who I would try to stash on the practice squad. That's what I would do, and develop him behind Joe Burrow and Jake Browning. We'll see if they can get that done. We're going to have you covered with our 53-man roster coming up on Sunday. Until then, for Andrew Fox Miller, I'm James Rapien. It is a big week. The preseason is over, and football is almost here. Hit that subscribe button. And until next time, thank you so much for watching and listening to Cincinnati Bengals Talk.